Hey, welcome back. So your spousal sponsorship application got rejected. I know it's a horrible feeling. It adds 3 to 4 months to your wait time, which is already too long. It badly tests your patience and breaks your heart a little. Believe me, I know how you feel. My application got rejected also the first time. And I have 57 DMs in my Instagram from people who have had their applications returned also. So you're not alone. But this is not the time to feel sorry or blame yourself for making a seemingly silly mistake. There are no silly mistakes. We are all doing the best we can with what we have and what we know, especially considering how confusing these instructions can be. So enough pep talk, let's get down to brass tacks. So in this video, we'll cover some of the most common reasons spousal sponsorship applications get returned. We'll primarily cover missing forms, missing signatures, and missing documents. We'll also cover how to fix them, where to resubmit the second application using the new online portal, what additional documents are required to resubmit, and do you need to pay again? So let's get started. Okay, so what you see on the screen here is the spousal sponsorship forms table, and I created this to make it easier to understand. In column 1, which is the forms, you see all the forms that you need to submit. In column 2, application method, we are going to discuss whether you're applying online or on paper, then whether these forms need validation, whether you need a hand signature, and who should sign the forms if they require a hand signature. Alright, so let's go through these forms one by one. So before we begin, make sure to download the latest forms from the official guide 5289. Don't reuse the forms that you've already submitted before. There's a good chance they may not have changed in the 3 months that you've submitted your application for the first time and gotten rejected, but still go to the official guide 5289, which I'm going to link in the description below, and download the latest forms, all right, for the ones which are PDF forms downloadable. All right, so the number 1 form is 1344, which is the sponsorship agreement form. So whether you're applying online or on paper, this form will have to be validated, and this form has to be signed by both the sponsor and applicant, all right? So you'll download the form, you'll fill it out, and you'll validate it. Then you will send it to your partner if they are in a different country. They will print it out, they will sign it, they will scan it back, they will send it to you, and then you will print it out, you will sign it, and then you will upload it to the online portal if applying online, or you will send it to your application destination if applying on paper. All right. So there is specific section for signature in this form, which you are going to see right here. So as you can see, this is the sponsor signature section and this is the applicant signature section, and both me, the sponsor, and my wife, the applicant, have signed it and used the latest date here. So this is the date that we submitted the application the second time. Don't use the previous date because it may not be considered because of expired form. All right. So always use the most recent date that you signed the form. And one more thing, if you are filling this application for the second time, always download the fresh copy of the form and fill it out again. I know it's tedious, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Don't reuse the previous form. Don't validate it again. Fill out a brand new form, validate it, make sure the barcodes are generated like this, and then you will do the signatures and upload it to the online portal. All right. All right. So next up is 5532. This is the relationship agreement form. This is also similar to 1344 in that both the sponsor and applicant will have to sign it, whether applying online or on paper. The only difference is this form doesn't have a validate button, so you don't have to worry about validation. All right. Then after this is the 5476, which is the representative form. So if the sponsor is filling out the application for the principal applicant, which was my case, I filled out the application for my wife. Me and my wife will both have to sign the 5476 form, whether applying online or on paper, and then upload it or send it to your application destination. If you're using a representative, then 3 of you will have to sign it: the representative, spouse, and the sponsor. And if you're not using a representative, which means only the principal applicant is doing the application for themselves, they're not using the sponsor or a hired consultant to do the application on their behalf, then you don't even have to fill this form out. But my guess is most people will be using 5476. All right. So for the next 4 forms, 0008, 5669, 5562, and 5406, if you are submitting the application online, then these forms are digital, meaning there is no validation, no signature required. You are going to fill out the information in the online portal. You're actually going to type in the information and it's going to take that information in the database. So they don't need any hand signatures. All right. And the only signature required is the name of the applicant once you finish the form. So by typing in the principal applicant's name, you are going to sign these digital forms. All right. But if you're doing the application on paper, then the applicant must sign all these 4 forms. Only the principal applicant should sign all these 4 forms. Okay, not the sponsor. Sponsor signature is not required for these forms. And the forms 0008 and 5669 also require validation. The 0008 is the generic application form for Canada, which will generate barcodes, and 5669 is the background declaration, which will not generate barcodes, but you will have to validate them. All right, so that's why I've listed them under the validation section. The 5562 and 5406 don't need to be validated. So that is the difference between online and on paper for these 4 forms. Next up is 5533. So this is the document checklist. It's also a downloadable PDF form, and whether applying online or on paper, you don't need to validate that. There's no validate button. You don't have to sign it. You can if you want, but it's not necessary. And that's why I've written not applicable in the who signs section. Okay, so that was just a brief overview of all the forms that you will need to resubmit for your application. We just went over which need to be signed, which need to be validated. All right, so I've also made a detailed video of this same list where I show you where to find these forms for on paper and online and where to submit them. It should be showing up on the cards here, and it's linked in the description below. It's pretty much the same list but in much more detail, so definitely check that out if you are looking for more information on each of these forms. And for a detailed discussion specifically on the signature portion of all these forms, there's a video that should be showing up on the cards here and linked in the description below. Check that video out to clear your confusion about the signature portion. So now let's look at the missing documents that can cause your application to be rejected or returned. So the most important documents that you will submit are the national identity documents, such as your passport, your birth certificate, your national identity cards, then your police clearance certificates, which become part of your background check, and then your proof of relationship documents, which include your marriage certificate, photos, proof of contact, joint residential history, past cohabitation, financial support, and all that stuff. So I actually have a video on my channel specifically discussing section 7 of the document checklist 5533, which is the proof of relationship section. So I discuss in general the proof of relationship documents that you can submit, and it may not apply to all of you, but it will definitely help you figure those documents out. So check that out. It should be linked in the description below and showing up on the cards here. All right, so now let's talk about resubmission. When you're submitting your application for the second time, can you use the same documents or do you have to use new ones? And what additional documents you have to provide. So that will depend on what is on your rejection letter that you received from the first time you applied. Your rejection letter is going to have what was missing, what went wrong, and how you can fix it. So actually, let me show you my rejection letter first. So as you can see on the screen, this is the rejection letter that I received from the first time I submitted my application. The first time I submitted was August 15, 2021, and I received this on October 26, 2021. Okay, so this letter says that, please note your application has been rejected for the following reason. IMM 1344, application to sponsor, sponsorship agreement and undertaking 1344 has missing signatures. So that is the only reason they have highlighted in the application rejection letter that they sent me. So that was the only problem with my application. My 1344 was missing signatures. Everything else was correct. So that's why probably they did not highlight it here. Okay. So let me show you one more thing real quick. So this is the official help center page of the Government of Canada, and it discusses what to do when you're resubmitting your application. So if you scroll down here, it says that when you send your application back, make sure that you add any document or information that was missing the first time and include the letter, which means the letter of rejection, and the checklist 5533 that we sent you. Okay. And the second thing it says, write a letter that explains why you are changing or updating your information or why you can't get the document we requested. So in my letter of explanation, I simply wrote that this is the second time I'm submitting my application. My first application was rejected because of this reason, and I'm attaching the rejection letter, and I have hereby corrected that problem by signing the 1344, which was highlighted in my rejection letter. Okay, so these two documents also have to be attached along with the rest of your application packet when you're resubmitting. All right, so if you scroll down, it also says you can use the same documents and payment receipts to apply again. So that answers the question of payment. You don't have to pay again. You can just use your previous receipt. All right, so just upload that in the online portal. Okay, so now let's talk about police clearance certificates. So when I resubmitted my wife's application, I used the same police clearance certificate for her from India, which I used in the first application because it was still valid. So to check the validity for a police clearance certificate, you can check two things. Number one is the issuance date, and number two is the expiry date. So I know that for most police clearance certificates from India, they won't have an expiry date. So what you will check is the issuance date. And what you should see is that the issuance date should not be longer than 6 months from the time that you are submitting your application. Basically meaning that it should not be more than 6 months old. So I got my wife's first police clearance certificate on August 12th, issued on August 12th. And the second time I submitted the application was on October 26th. So it's still within the 6-month range. Okay. But let's assume your application got delayed for some reason and your police clearance is now past its issuance date, then it will be considered expired. So in that case, you should consider getting another police clearance certificate. And this is from the country that you currently reside in. Okay. For any other country than your current residential country, the rules are slightly different. And for that, I'm actually going to link a page in the description below which you can use for reference. So if I can quickly show you that page here, this is the page for police certificates for express entry applications. Now, I know this is for express entry, but it will still give you a general idea. So if you scroll down here and under date the certificate was issued, you will get all the information about how to look into expiry and issuance date for the police clearance certificates for the country that you currently live in and for any other country. And it says for the country where you currently live in, it must be issued no more than 6 months before the date you submit the application. So this is the issuance date we talked about, and must not be expired. So if it doesn't have an expiry date, then use the issuance date as the standard. Okay. For any other country, they say they will accept the expired police clearance certificates as long as they were issued after the last time you stayed there for 6 months or more in a row, and they are not for the country where you currently live. So it's fairly straightforward. So go through this page and you'll understand everything about the validity. Okay. All right, let's talk about reapplying. So if you're reapplying offline, then the instructions are fairly straightforward. Collect all your documents and forms and send it to the application destination. If you are reapplying online, then you will have to do it through the online portal. So let's log in. Okay, so what you see on the screen here is the permanent resident online portal page for the application that I submitted for my wife. So here, August 15, 2021 is the first application which I submitted, which shows returned. And what you see here on the second row is the second time I submitted the application, October 27th, 2021. As it says here, submitted, and the view button is grayed out. So when you are resubmitting your application, don't click on this returned application to resubmit. It's not going to allow you. So if you click here, this is the returned application, which most of you will see. And you will have the option of re-uploading forms again and uploading all your documents here again, but it's not going to allow you to submit from this returned application page. As you see here, this submit your application button is grayed out. So what you'll have to do is start a brand new fresh application. Okay. So what you do is you scroll up all the way, go to the home page, click on start new application, select your family class program again, select spouse, and select whatever class applies to you. For me, it was family class outside, and then rename your application. All right. And then once you do that, you can start uploading forms and documents again in the fresh application page. Okay. So let's get to that. All right. So what you see on the screen here is the fresh brand new application that I started. And if you scroll down, you're already familiar with this. This is the form section. So fill out the digital forms, which have to be filled out right here, and upload all the PDFs that you need to upload. And once you're done with the forms here, then you'll scroll down, get to the documents section, and then re-upload all your documents again. So basically you are doing the complete application again. So upload all the documents here. For the documents that have categories, upload those respective documents in those categories. And for the documents that don't have a category here, then you can just upload them under the other category. Okay. So just select other and just keep uploading those documents which don't have a category. And most of your supporting documents may fall under the other category. That's why I thought I should mention that. And don't forget to upload the document checklist under the document checklist category. So 5533 will be uploaded here. And the rejection letter and the letter of explanation that we saw earlier will also be uploaded under the other category. Just label them correctly, okay? Label them properly, and the instructions for labeling are right here. So label all your documents based on these instructions that are given here, and just keep on uploading them here, okay? And once you're done uploading, you are going to come down here and click on the start button under the declaration section. The principal applicant will type their full name here, or whoever is doing the application for them will type the name of the principal applicant here, and that will complete the digital signature for this application. And then you scroll down and then you'll see the submit your application button enabled. then you'll just click on submit and then your application will be submitted. So that was the way I resubmitted my wife's application on October 27, 2021. And so far her medicals have been approved and completed. So at this point we are waiting for the passport request. So for everybody else who has reached the same phase, my big congratulations to you. We are nearly there. And for those who are starting out, I wish you all the best in your application. This is Suyash from Hit Submit in Canada. I'll see you in the next one. Good night.